comments, suggestions, questions? Because I think this is the first time you did it, so we need help.
In terms of just like presenting, like if you enunciate a little bit more, I think you'd be better because I found it hard to understand what you were saying sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you skip your framework section?
Yeah.
So it was 450 minus.
Yeah. So that's some stuff. Yeah.
Just wondering.
Anything else?
I think just as far as like the reconstruction part, once you get a sense of where you want to place different parts of your argument and kind of practice some more, just pace yourself with it. And I know it's like nervousness too, so it's the same. Just getting past that and like feeling comfortable and confident with the material.
So when you can come and speak up,
Yeah.
because we're recording.
I might have just missed this. Did you like define bullying or
Yeah.
say it in the heart? Okay, I just.
Also, like when you started your presentation, the first thing you started with was cyberbullying, but yours is on bullying specifically. So I felt like kind of what Emily said, like maybe you might want to start with the definition of bullying to give a little background instead of, because it can kind of trip people up. Because if you start with cyberbullying, people
But it was just a hook.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because it talks about both, like what is cyberbullying? Is it sticks and stuff? Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Just curious, what frameworks are you planning on using?
I was planning on using the libertarianism and communitarianism. I don't know. I have certain. I started it, but I don't know how to pretty much fix it or finish it. That's my problem. Like I'm part of the communitarianism. It's not like I had the concept of like thinking that it's about community. Is that what it is? Like pretty much about. I'm kind of not there yet with that part. Like, because I have like a part where I talk about how, for instance, like gays and lesbians and like the way they are like perceived in community, like they're usually isolated or alienated and bullied because of that. So,
Possibly use, again, kind of what I did for mine, utilitarianism as well, maybe. That could work because you could use it in a sense that it disrupts the productivity of the classroom. It makes people not want to do well, it makes people not want to show up to school, and it could disrupt the overall hierarchy of the school itself. If there's bullying going on, there's discontent, and then there's going to be rustling of feathers, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be, it's not going to not be as productive, because I mean in school it's about learning, not productivity, but it's not going to harness the learning, whatever. So you could possibly find a way to use that one.
Anything else? I don't know if you are reading his abstract too. You guys all have everybody else's abstract, right? So you should be reading his abstract just so that you get a sense of how to help you. So from the stylistic point of view, we don't sway too much. You sway, you kind of doing this pseudo pacing, but not pacing. So I think the judge is gonna get distracted. Well, if I were to be a judge, I would be distracted by that. And I think you do that because you did that because you were nervous, and then because you were nervous, you didn't talk naturally. Is that, I mean, I don't know, am I getting, do you feel something? Because normally when you talk normally we can understand you well, but when you get nervous, there's this heightened sense of sort of anxiety that we can hear in your voice. And so we kind of get, or at least I get distracted by your heightened sense of anxiety rather than really listening to your words. So, So that means this week you really have to practice in front of mirrors, practice in front of your siblings or friends or whatever. You know, the kind of confidence that I see you at the talent show doing a single lady, you should be having the same kind of confidence out here and say, look, this is an important topic that I care deeply about, and I've been working very hard on it, and I want you to know what I think about it. Okay, so you gotta carry that kind of confidence, carry the same kind of confidence that you would have on a basketball court. It's you own the court, you own this room, and you are here, make this thing done. As far as the framework is concerned, I think you may have a little misunderstanding on the communitarian framework. Communitarian framework, I think, as I have reiterated already, is that communitarianists such as Sandel don't necessarily say communitarian framework is not an idea that really necessarily promoting community. It simply states that we are all part of community. And the way we are a part of community is by being crafted into the same storytelling, the same story. Right? So for example, African Americans will call themselves as the African American communities because they share a similar narratives and stories of slaveries and the civil rights movements. That's something that even if you've never experienced before, or that you are, if you're from the Caribbean and whatnot, and you're more the recent immigrants, you can still feel that you are a part of that narrative, overall story. The same way that Asian Americans and Chinese Americans can say that they are part of the same community because they share that kind of an immigrant story, if you will. Right? And so it's a question of how do you define that community. Now, you may use the communitarian framework to address the solution side of it. You probably wouldn't use that to analyze the problem, but you would use the communitarianism to say, perhaps one of the ways to help bullies to not feel like they have the need to dominate others. Oftentimes you talk, because one of the factors you talk about, bullies dominate other people, control other people, is because they feel that they're out of control. They feel that they're outsiders. They feel like they want to be in the crowd, to be at the center. So they force people to do, by force, by gossip, by rumors, by whatever, right? But then if you have a school program or a school strategy where you develop a good culture where every single individual, every single members of the school community can buy into a narrative that they feel so much a part of, then perhaps it eliminates the individual need to be that domineering sort of a personality, right? Because everybody, if everyone is into this one thing, one goal, and be part of that narrative, that story, that culture, and so on, then maybe it eliminates these kind of individuals showing off of powers and control. So I suggest the communitarianism, that framework, can be helpful to identify possible solution strategies. Libertarianism is okay. I have a hard time. I understand that libertarianism says you can do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. So you can say anything you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. But that usually doesn't happen. Right? That usually doesn't happen. People usually stick to the freedom part and not the responsibility part. Because I can do whatever I want, so I'm going to say whatever I want. I don't care how you feel. Right? So libertarianism, it may or may not be able to offer that much of an insight. In my opinion, I don't know. You may be able to argue a good one. You may argue about this idea of liberalism, the Kantian view. You can say, philosopher Immanuel Kant argues that a human person is truly free if this person is truly rational and reasonable and really be able to sort of abide instead of this desire, just inclination. And now bullies oftentimes they operate upon impulses, right? They operate on impulse. They operate upon this manipulative sort of a selfish desire, right? And that's not free. You can say these bullies, you look at them as perpetrators, but you can look at them as very sad human beings who really struggle with a lot of problems. So they want control is precisely because they feel out of control. So maybe that could be a way to kind of think about the problem. But I think you can start out with a one framework to analyze the problem using liberalism or Kantian, Immanuel Kant's philosophy on individuals, and then you can end with a communitarian way of looking at solution, possible solution. But you also can look at it from the theological framework, Christian framework, and say, well, perhaps there is this idea that we human beings are just so deeply flawed, right? And we need the Holy Spirit to restore us. You can look at it, this whole idea about sanctification, right? The theology, the doctrine of sanctification. We human beings, whether once you become believers, you need to go through a process, a lifelong process of sanctifying. Like God will sanctify us, meaning we need to be restored. Bullies, in this case, require a tremendous process of being restored. That could lead to thinking in terms of, not just penalize these bullies and give them severe consequences, but also this idea of how do we counsel these people, right? And this came out of the theology rather than just coming out with some random solution. Right? It is out of this idea of restoration that we say it's important to restore these bullies rather than locking them up. But at the same time, you have to be thoughtful about how to restore them so that at the same time you don't harm anybody in the process. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think that's it.